everybody, this is Sherry and I'm showing you the Your Next Stamp Woodland Critters stamp set that I used. I used the fox, the raccoon, and the bunny for the images. Those are all of the markers that I used to color the images. And what I went ahead and did was I had started to color the fox and then realized, I don't know, it just disappeared. It's not there. So I went over and just started again, and I'm showing you how that I color the body of the fox. Now I have this sped up twice the speed, so that should show you how slow I really color. and but what I want to show you, and it drives me insane that my hand is over part of it, and I even considered not putting this part of the clip in at all, but it's not over top of all of it, and I'm hoping that maybe somebody can learn from my mistakes and you know, when they do their videos, try to find a way to keep their hand back better or aim their camera differently. But I'm using my browns, and I use the E08, 09, and 19. And when you color your Copic, or when you color with your Copics, if the body is arched or bent in a certain way, you need to make sure that the flicks that you put in with the color, that they follow that shape. And that, and if you guys could see me, my finger's going 90 miles an hour back here. But it, you need to make sure that it follows the shape so that it doesn't look, I guess, distorted. And if something's round and you make the lines all straight, you're not going to get to see any depth, and it's not going to give you any indication of shape if you do all your lines straight. And I had chose to do these in red browns, which they were all E's, which would be a brown, but I wanted a red fox. So I found these and I thought they would just be perfect for a little fox. I really was happy with this color combination. And I will be finishing up the fox here in a second. And you'll see when I move on to the bunny and the raccoon, you know, about making your flicks, having them go in a particular direction and angle. Here I am using W3, W2, and W0 to do what is, I didn't want it white, I didn't want it gray, I wanted it almost like a grungy, dirty color. So I went ahead and used W4, W3, W2, and W1, I believe is what I used. Nope, scratch that. W3, W2, W1, and W0. And I also use my colorless blender. I try to take this back to almost no color at all. I take it back as far as I can with the colorless blender, because I didn't, like I said, I didn't want it to be gray and I didn't want it to be white. I wanted it to be like a dirty, like, color. And here I am, I'm going ahead and finishing up the little fox's tail. And I wish I didn't realize that there was a skunk in the set. I don't know why I didn't realize there was a skunk, but I didn't realize. And I used to have a skunk, and oh, I wish I had colored the skunk. But I was happy with how they all turn out. Now I'm moving on to the bunny, and I'm using E40, 3, 42, 41, and I'm also using my colorless blender. Again, I want the colors to be real soft. I want the bunny to be real pale. And I wanted a brown bunny, but I didn't want a dark brown. So these colors worked great. And you'll see again here where I talk about, you know, making your strokes into your image, having them follow the shape. See the head? I'm not going straight out. I'm having it follow the shape of the image. And when it arches and curves in, then I make my strokes curve. And I just seem to get a really good coloring and a really good image when I do that. And I just wanted to share it with you guys. But I'm so upset that I didn't color the skunk. I used to have one. And I also had a bunny. She was a Flemish giant rabbit. And she was beautiful. But she was like an orangey color. And her name was Emily. And my skunk, his name was Rhino McBoogie. And I just loved him so much. But oh my golly, he hated my husband. I don't know what it was, but that thing just hated Royce. And I mean, he'd just tremble. He'd want to tear into Royce so bad. And so I only got to keep him for a little while. There I go back with the 0 to soften it all up. And then I returned him to where I got him from because, you know, it wasn't any kind of lifestyle for him if he couldn't be held and loved. And they don't sting, so it's really cool. And here I am doing the raccoon, and I'm doing E70, 71, and 74 for this part of its fur. And then I'll do E79, 77, and 74 for the darker rings on the raccoon. But, you know, it was nothing for him. It wasn't fair. And after he pinned Royce on the toilet, Royce was like, nope, that's it. There, you know, the little skunk has got to go. So poor Rhino, he was gone, but he was a great pet. I really loved him. And they take the stinky thing out, so he doesn't stink or nothing. And here I am doing the other parts, and I'm trying to follow the shape. If it comes in, in arches into a certain direction, I want to make my strokes arch in that same direction, and it gives you a better idea of what the shape is, and I think, in my opinion, gives it more dimension. And so here I am. I'm just going back over with my E70 and blending everything in. And now I'm going to go on here and I'm going to do E74, 77, and 79. And I'm just going to color in the eyes. I didn't want to take you guys' entire day by showing you how I color every image because, you know, I color so slow it would take forever. So I'm just kind of trying to show you bits and pieces of each one of the images that I color. And again, here I am trying to arch my flicks in with my color so that it makes the raccoon or the image appear more round. And with these 3 images, I wanted them to appear as if the light was directly in front. So it would be softer or have the highlight in the center of the image and get darker toward the edges. And that's the way I was coloring these 3. There he is. I think he turned out really cute. Now I have my Stampin' Pastels out because I had already went and chalked the cheeks of all of the animals. And I cut this on my Cricut at 3 by 5.5. I cut 2 of them. And there's the first one I did. And I liked how the little piece of the fox went over the front. So I decided I was going to do that on all 3 of these, just tiny little pieces. I left just 1 foot of the raccoon, just 1 foot of the bunny, and then for the fox, it's his tail that sticks over and out of the circle. And I'm going to cut my acetate here. I've got it cut, and I cut it just a tiny bit smaller than the actual piece. And I'm using glue here. Now, had I thought, I would have left the ovals, made the ovals a little smaller so I had more room in between the circles. But because I didn't, which I adjusted that on my Cricut file so that when I make these again, I won't make that mistake. But I had to use glue because there was just no way to get foam, individual pieces of foam in there. And you can see there on the counter, I've got my blue foam and I've already got it cut out. I just laid the template or the circles over top and traced around them, and then cut them out with my scissors. So it's definitely not anything pretty. It's a good thing you ain't supposed to see it. And I'm just going to trim off the ends here of the pieces that I had hanging over, which is the raccoon's tail. And I'm trimming off the excess stuff, the clear stuff, so that acetate, so that you can't see it, because it was sticking out a little bit over top of the or around the edges. And so I'm just going to trim that up, and I'm sorry it's not on camera. I had to bring it really close for me to be able to see it, and I couldn't get my magnifying glass in there without my giant head in the way. So here I am putting the glue on the foam, put it on the back. Now I would not use a lot of glues for this, because a lot of them stay tacky and your sequins and things will stick to them. But this art glitter glue, you don't have that problem at all. And now I did let it sit and dry for a little while before I put anything in it, because I wanted to make sure that it was attached really well to the acetate. So I leave it for a little bit. And now I went and got my STD that my husband made me, because that sentiment was so long I didn't have a block big enough. And I'm going to get my sequins out here and get ready to fill my little bins. Now I've decided, at least in my opinion, I like them with less sequins. I know some people like them chocked full. I like mine with a little less. And I'm putting in some little tiny heart sequins that I was gifted from Nurse Laurel for the Magnolia March event. And I'm putting them in, and then I'm going to bring in some, excuse me, some blue sequins. Pardon me, guys, I'm sorry. I'm just having a heck of a time thinking. I'm going to put some blue sequins in with the little hearts, not a lot, and I'm going to bring in the back of the paper that I used. I've already got cut. It came out of a Lawn Fawn Perfectly Plaid Winter set. I love the blue in that set. I absolutely love that paper pad. So here I go. I'm again putting my glue back down so I can adhere the back, and cleaning up where I get any glue on the inside, because I don't want any of my sequins to stick. And I'm telling you, this glue is the bomb diggity, man. I love it. And I hope to never use any glue but that. As a matter of fact, I like it so much I stocked up, because I know they can't ship it in the wintertime, because if the glue would freeze, it compromises the integrity of the glue, and so they won't ship it in the winter. So I stocked up. And here I go and show you the other little sentiments and things that are in here. There was a lot of cute sentiments in this set, but I love the fact that that one is so wide it almost covers the entire bottom strip of the card. And because I'd already put it together, I didn't want to press with my ATG gun, so I'm again just using my glue to get it glued down. I bring it about a ½ inch down from the top, and then it goes even on both sides. And I just leave a little space at the bottom, and there's my sentiment and my card. And I love the way it shakes. I love it. I was so tickled with how it turned out, and I love those little images. They are adorable, absolutely adorable. I love every image in that set, and I can't believe I didn't know about Your Next stamps. And now that I do, I'm like, woohoo! I love them. I love them. I'm like I'm addicted, and I want all of them now. And I'm going to come back here and show you some envelopes that I made for the cards. I used my envelope punch board, and I wanted a purple and a blue envelope to match the card bases. And what I did was, I had done one card with you guys, and I did another one separate. And I went and I have like printer paper, colored printer paper, and so of course they're not going to match exactly, but I just, as long as I had a blue one, I was going to be happy. And I wanted you to see how light that is for the images. The first one I did, when it dried, you could not see it at all. And I'm going to show you here. I used the Summertime Sky Memento ink, and I'm going to show you on a scrap of that paper what it looks like when it goes on, and then you see on the envelope what it looks like when it dries. And those are some of the ones I tried to see which one I liked the best, because I didn't want it to be, in your face bright, because I needed to be able to put my, my address and things over that. And if you look there, look at the difference. I mean, I had no idea it was going to dry back that much. So I suggest if you go to do this, definitely try them out on a scrap first to see how much they, you know, fade when they dry, because this envelope here, besides the fact that my husband touched it with buttery popcorn fingers, I had already stamped that entire envelope with a different ink color, and you couldn't see it at all when it dries. You know, look, when I bring it back up, look and see if you can find, you know, where I stamped anything else. I can't find it. I just couldn't believe it. Just almost like it was disappearing ink, but it was gone. And I used, for this one, I used the grape jelly. There I am pointing out that fingerprint. Oh, it drove me nuts. But here I used the grape jelly memento ink, and I'm going to again show you what it looks like on the paper when I first stamp it, and then you can see on the envelope what it looks like when it dries back. Now on the blue one, I left a square for the address to go. I could have done that. I could have actually stamped the entire envelope, and I wish I had have now if I'd have known at that time how light the blue was going to be, because it's definitely not going to interfere with reading, you know, the address. And there's what it looks like when it goes on. I mean, I couldn't believe the difference when it goes on and then what it dries back to on the envelope. I had so much fun doing these guys, and I really encourage you to get out your Cricut and use them together. There are so many things that we can do with our Cricuts and our stamps and our dies, and you know, we don't have to limit ourselves to just one thing. And there's the space that I put a post-it note in whenever I stamp, so I'd have a clear place for the address. I hope you guys like this video. I hope you like the cards and the little stamped images. If you have any suggestions about how I could possibly angle my camera a little more so you can see more when I color, I would appreciate it. Thank you guys for visiting me today, and happy crafting.